What's going on, everyone? It's Greg back with some more Watcher of Realms, and I want to go ahead and do my Gear Raid 2 guide. So we did my Gear Raid 3 guide, and I know I'm kind of like counting backwards here. But Gear Raid 2, I was hoping to get 19 beat. I think I probably just need to do quite a bit of re-gearing, stacking all my heroes. I just don't have the time to sit down and do it. So right now, I am clearing through stage 18. On auto. I am now on stage 19, and my count is just at that point where I need to break through something on gear stage 19 get those better drop rates. But I am on 18 on gear raid 1, 18 on gear raid 2, and 17 on gear raid 3. I don't see gear raid 3 as necessarily being the first one I hit 19 on, although I am trying to build up my mall. I really need to sit down and zero in on something that's probably going to be gear raid 2. But it's not gonna get done before I get this guide done. And just in case you guys are wondering, there are different little things going on for content creators, so you'll see a lot of these guides come out. But what I found is that you do get little different nuggets from each one, because everyone has different heroes, and some people get it a lot easier because they have some legendary lord or something like that. So it's nice to look at some different guides and kind of get some different ideas from different folks. So what I want to talk about here is general heroes. Depending on where you are in the game, you essentially your main thing here is your tanks, your healers, and your DPS. So when it comes down more toward the end, you really only need one strong DPS or maybe two fighters or strong fighters to really do your damage. But let's take a look at the map here. We'll start with stage 10 and see what we're looking like. Yeah, so right here again, this is where you have to defend the two portals. Before this, you only had to defend one portal. Oh no, I'm sorry, there's two portals there. You start with the one portal on and then at stage 6 you jump up to two portals side by side, which gives you a little more flexibility there. And then they start to spread out here on stage 10. So now you have two lanes you got to defend, and but you do have these middle blocks for your healers. And through here, there's really just a mixture of, enough. You definitely need two solid tanks and at least two solid healers, and eventually getting into probably three healers. But two solid healers here, maybe an extra healer to reach some people on these platforms. But some DPS spread out. You can kind of do a lot of different things moving up into these stages until you get to let's say stage 13 plus, where you really got to start zeroing in on how you place things. And you can see this layout stage through stage 18, and then 19 is still pretty similar. And honestly, between 18 and 19, you're still doing pretty similar layouts in terms of how you handle things. Now, when you're on here, the main boss is not your biggest worry. He will eventually come down this left lane. You need to make sure you have enough DPS for him, but he doesn't require a whole lot. You don't have to focus too much on him. You see, you start adding these mobs as you go up in through here. We have the rolling ones and the ones that throw the rocks. You get them starting. Where do we start then? The rock throwing starts at stage 10. The rolling guys you deal with starting at stage 6, so you pretty much got a feel for those. Those hit you, they lose a lot of health. The second person they hit, they will die, but they do a lot of damage. So I didn't need to particularly worry about them as much until I got into when they pop back in at 16 is when I need to start worrying about them. When you hit 13 here, you do have these little strong guys here. Now they will hit really hard, but they don't roll into you, and you can deal with them. I say you deal with them a little bit easier than the rolling guys, as long as you have some decent DPS. The rock throwing guys, they are annoying, and they tend to mostly hit my people on the center platform, mostly hit my healers. It's interesting because where I'm at now, I can place fighters out here and they don't really get hit by the rocks, so I'm not really sure how exactly they target. So as you can see here, as we move up from 16, 17, and 18, you're dealing with these rolling guys and the rock throwers. So I'm gonna go ahead and show what I did for 15 if it will run. We'll do one auto fight. Before this, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Use what you got, and most of the time, if you're not If you're failing, you can use some of these tactics I'm going to show you in these later stages, but for the most part, you know, I just need to power up some, get some better gear, which is ironic because you're trying to beat these to get better gear. So here we go. We have these heavy hitter guys roll in, but I got my tank out, and I'm just going to tank them, get my DPS out. At this point, you don't really have to worry about doing too much cheese stuff. The earthquake comes out. You got 2 solid healers. You can just heal through it. I use my shield from Regulus, but there are a wide variety of tanks you can use. We'll talk about the units more specifically a little bit later. So you can see here, we're just dealing with the waves, surviving the earth shake. I got my 1 primary DPS, my 2 tanks, my 2 healers. The rock throw guys come in. They're hitting, well, it looks like they hit my tanks first. Comet right here is really just DPS and stuff down. If you have Iona, use Iona here. Just that your heaviest DPS up here in the middle to hit both lanes should do you pretty well. If you don't have that, you can also put a fighter here and a fighter here. You might not necessarily get the heals, but you can see here the boss is so easy at this point. I threw my Salazar in to get that DPS in. If you have a nice burst damage dealer, throw them down right before the boss comes. But this was pretty straightforward. Don't ask why I just said pretty 3 times. Wow, and I picked up 2 mythics, 3 mythics total from that one run. That was interesting. Nothing too crazy there. But 3 mythics from the one run. That was a nice little stage 15 run, given the odds there. So now we go down to 16, 17, 18. Now these are all pretty similar, but I'm going to run through 18 because this is where I think I had to do some cheesing here. So, and we'll talk about some of the good heroes here. You kind of really want to leverage anything you have that has some kind of immunity, such as you can see right here, I threw out Decimus. So Decimus is a rare. Pretty much everyone should have a copy. Make sure you save a copy. He's 3 stars. Don't really need to build him much. Just give him a little bit of resources. I mean, it's pretty easy to pump up some rares, but you're not expecting him to do anything. His main goal is to use his immunity. So he has a death immunity, and I don't know if you promote him or skill him up or something. I think you can extend the time a little bit. I don't quite remember. We'll look at that in a little bit. He has death immunity, and that death immunity can be used to soak up one of the hits from these rolling guys. Later on, he can soak up 2 hits because they come quick enough. I don't think they come quick enough here to soak up 2 hits. But you can see there, I did soak up a hit with him. Then the next roll into my tank, that one went ahead and died. So then I had this one that has a little bit of health left. So that just gave me a little extra boost early on. And you can see here, I'm just trying to get my healers out because I needed to survive the earthquakes. So here on 18, it's like, okay, can I survive the earthquakes? And I can. So now I pull out my DPS after the first round of earthquakes, because why deal with that if you don't have to? Don't put units out too early. You're not trying to get everything out as quick as possible. You want to go ahead and do the minimum you need to do for as long as possible so that you don't have to worry about the earthquakes and stuff as much. So you can see we have more rolling things. I think I do put some units out to soak up some rolls. This one, who did I put out? I think a Siren. I can't even tell who this is right here. Oh, well, no, it was Decimus again. By the way, I put some units out to soak up the rolls. Other than that, if you can tank it, you can tank it. It's just kind of what do you need. If you can't, throw a unit out. Again, why did I have Decimus out right there? I don't know. Anyway, he just kind of delayed things. You can see I throw out my Salazar right here at the end. At the end, you can take these 2 units out. Don't need them if they're not doing anything. They're just wasting heals at this point. I probably should take them out to be the most efficient. But if you're struggling, at the end, you can despawn some units on the right side that aren't doing anything. That gives you your bit more heals on the left. Less people to target for heals. And then you can see here the boss again. He doesn't have a ton of HP. He's not crazy. If you don't have Salazar, whatever DPS you have, find a way to squeeze out another DPS. You could throw like another mage over here. You can throw a marksman over here, but you don't need to do it until the boss comes at the very end. So this is what I have for stage 18. You can see there, pretty easy to survive the end too, if you made it there. Now, I think I did have this a little bit easier because at this point I did have Sadie. So you can see here, your main DPS, my main DPS is Comet. Salazar, pull him out at the end for the boss. My heals, my Lightlock, at this point he was my only 6-star. No, Elowen 6-star. Yeah, Elowen should have the most heals. Yeah, Elowen definitely a great healer if you don't have her. Madan, Sadie, a lot of people won't have her. Sadie just makes things easier because you can ult just before earthquakes or shrieks and take less damage. She has a damage reduction, but overall she's not great. I don't really use her anywhere else. She doesn't have great heals. You see, she only healed for 1.5 mil, which I mean, Lightlock didn't do too much either. But he was, I put him in last on the left, so that's why. Lightlock, I mean, he'll do a little bit of damage as well. I was kind of building him for that purpose, but at the same time, I have enough units now. I don't necessarily need to use him for that, so I haven't like pushed him like full attack. He's kind of a balanced build right now. Probably not ideal. Cyrene, okay, so I didn't put her in. I at one point I would sometimes put her in trying to soak up a hit, but other than that, you have Decimus to take the hits, and we'll go over him in a second. So that's it. I mean, you really are talking about survival and DPS. Get those mobs down as quick as possible. Just survive until the end, and then DPS in the boss is just not a big deal. So let's kind of talk about some heroes that are good for this. And so as you can see here under highly recommended, Sadie is obviously highly recommended simply before her damage reduction, because you know it's all about survivability. Elowen, best healer in the game, but Madan is good. Lightlock, he's fine. King Hars will be a good tank, but there's plenty of tanks to use. The only one I have from the recommended list is Isolde. But I do like, man, guys, yes, please, can someone tell me why I don't have a vortex after over 1,000 summons? I wish I had a vortex. I think vortex would make things a little less complicated for me. But hey, it is what it is. So same recommended units as you move down. So again, the map, just to cover it, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. You're gonna have your 2 tanks. Most of your healers in the middle, might have 1 healer off to the side. The ideal is that, or this side healer, you want to have it so that side healer is not necessarily required. It's just extra support. So you hope to have enough heals here straight down the center, and you're looking to keep everyone alive. So if you're using mage DPS, you want to have them here in the top spot and 2 healers here. And then pointing them can be a little finicky. That's kind of one reason why I really wish I had Vortex. Vortex is a great healer for this. He has a nice range. Elowen, I know I'm pointing straight up and down. Madan, kind of similar, and they would just cover in here, which means you don't really want to utilize these other spaces as much as possible. Now, for me, I have Sadie. I could put Sadie here. I could put like Salazar over here, reduce the damage he's taking. Zilla 2 I've played around with, but that's the overall layout. Now, when you get to 19, the power difference, you need a lot more power here. It just gets a lot more complicated. I have been working on this. I probably spent a few hours already just toying with timings and things like that, trying different placements. I can get decently far. I think I died like the 3rd streak, or 2nd or 3rd shriek. Not necessarily a shriek, it's actually the earthquakes that eventually take me out. My units just can't out heal it. And so I probably need to work on my healers a little bit, as well as maybe look at tweaking some defenses and HP values. But you can see here, when you hit 19, you end up with having to face all of these mobs. So you have to deal with some of these guys early on, then you start to deal with the rolling guys. Decimus comes in very handy for just helping to soak up some hits. If you have some other maybe low cost units or something, that you can throw in, that might help soak up some hits too. But it really comes down to a survivability check here and enough DPS to take out the waves. I do have Yearner now, so I'm playing around with her. So I don't know, see how far we can get. I tried the fighter thing, and I think I'm just gonna have to sit down, focus on the heroes I want to use, and re-gear everything, even if I got strip gear from other people. I need to get through one of these stage 19s. Popular heroes here: King Hearts. I don't have Tord. I mean, come on now, legendary lords make things so much easier. You will find that a lot of these people that are clearing these things first have legendary lords, or at least epic lords. You can see Decimus highly used. So why is that? Because of his passive somewhere. Yeah, when HP drops to 0, remain alive and continue to fight 6 seconds, during which time attack is increased. So you do want to level this up so you can get that up to 8 seconds, just to give you that extra time. But again, you have the resources. You're not having to put too much in here. You don't have to star him up if you don't want to. Yeah, you can promote him, right? Yeah, you don't have to promote him if you don't want to. And a great thing about him is he also has an 18-second revival time, so you can use him multiple times throughout the fight. Ideally, there's one thing to keep in mind too: if you can despawn someone before they die, even if Decimus is in his, undying mode, so he's invincible, if you can get him right before that timer ends and despawn him yourself, you'll get that cost back. So make sure you try to utilize some despawning, and getting that cost back instead of letting them die if you can. It's if you can. If you have someone that can take a hit from one of the rolling guys, and then you can click on them and fast enough retreat them, you'll get that cost back. Now, at the same time, most units will have a longer timer, but that's one thing that's so great about Decimus is not only does he have the Undying, but he also has the 18-second revival time, whereas everyone else is a default of 60 seconds. So that's why he is so good for this. But it is more for cheesing. Like, you ideally shouldn't have to use him, but he can definitely help you skip ahead. Everyone will have a soul day after once they get enough shards from the current event, and she is really good as well. She also has a passive. Her leader skill will all faction allies periodically gain 20% max HP shield, and that lasts for 20 seconds, so you get some random shields on any other northerners you're using. Pretty nice little thing here. And also, once in a while, a soul day will grant allies on the left and right shields equal to 30% of a soul day's max HP. Problem is, this is a 30-second cooldown, and trying to time this is just a pain. I use her, but I haven't gotten to the point of trying to time her. Baron is very good tank. He has some immunity as well. Olak is a great tank. I really wish I had him. Abomination, I've used him here and there. For DPS, Comet is great. Salazar is great for DPS and that boss. Regulus is another great tank. Torador, I mean, obviously, again, these two legendary lords obviously going to be great. Yeah, Sadie, we talked about Sadie. And Madan is a great one. Again, legendary lord, of course, is going to be good. And Morgan would basically be for just to power up your DPS. You might be using a cursed DPS. So there you have it. GR2 is probably one of the easier ones for people to push because there are some cheese tactics there. As long as you have the tanks for it and you have the healers for it, which, I mean, you need healers for every other mode. You also need a few tanks for other modes. So this tends to be the one that you can build up the easiest because you're also building those units for other modes. So I hope that helps. If we look at the stage 19 clears, you can see here, this is one reason why I know I just need to do some re-gearing, because I look at some of these like Salazar. This team right here is pretty close to what I have. I might not have the Valk, I don't necessarily have the Vortex, but I have everything else here. And I really think I should be able to clear it. My power, though, what I noticed is my power is a little bit lower, so I'm curious. I probably just need to do some re-gearing. I am stuck around 357 power, and I don't see anyone here that clears it with a power close to mine. So that's probably one thing I need to look at, doing some re-gearing on. By the way, I think based on all this, I should be able to do it. So we'll see. Maybe I'll do a little update when I do finally clear that. Maybe I'll make a little short out of it. So I hope that helps explain what you need to do. Maybe you got a little nugget out of this you didn't get from someone else's guide. Maybe me showing my runs helped you think of something you could do as well. That's really what I get from watching other people's runs. I try to find as many runs as possible to just get different ideas from each one. Anyway, again, hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure you hit that like button. If you're not subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button, and I will catch you guys in the next video.